हरे कृष्ण। ओम ज्ञान तिमिरंगस्य ज्ञानांजनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। हरे कृष्ण. So here we'll continue. Before that, we'll just recite the prayers of Kunti. कुन्ती उवाच नमस्ते पुरुषं त्वाद्यम् ईश्वरं प्रकृते परं लक्ष्यं सर्वभूतानां अन्तर्बहिरवस्थितं मायाजवनिकाचरणम् अज्ञातोक्षजमव्ययं न लक्ष्यसे मूढदृशां नटो नाट्यदर्पित तथा परमहंसानां मुनीनां ममलात्मनं योगविधानार्थं पुरं पश्येमहि स्त्रियः कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो किंचन वित्ताय नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमुखिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रये विशान्मः यथा ऋषिकेश कलेर देवकी कंसेन हृदातिचरं सुचार्पितम् विमोहिताहं च सहात्मजा विभो द्वयेव नातेन मुहुर्विपत्गणा विशान्महाग्ने पुरुषादुदर्शनात् असस्सभाया वनवासि प्रच्छ्रिता मृदे मदे नेह महारथास्थितौ धौमस्तस्यास्मि हरेभिरक्षिता विपदः सन्तुतास्तत्र जगद्गुरो भवतो दर्शनमिच्छाद पुनर्भव दर्शनम् जन्मैश्वर्यसुतश्रीभिर्येदमानमदत्मं नैवार्यं विधातुं वै त्वामकिञ्चन गोचरम् नमो किञ्चन वित्ताय नमृत्युगुणवित्ते आत्मा रामाय शान्ताय कैवल्यपते नमः। मन्ये त्वां कालमीशानमनादिनिधनं विभुं समं चरन्तं सर्वत्र भूतानां कलिः न वेद कश्चित् भगवं चिकीर्षितं तवेहमानस्य निनां विडम्बनं न यस्य कश्चित् दयितोऽस्ति कर्हिचिद्विश्चस्य अस्मिन् विषमामतिर्निनाम् जन्म कर्म च विश्वात्मन जस्या कर्तुरात्मनः तिर्यन्निशिष्यादिषु तदत्यन्ता विडम्बनम् गोप्या तदेत्वैकतागसिधाम तावद् याते दशाशुरकरुणाञ्जन सम्भ्रमाक्षं वक्त्रं निनीय भव भावनया सुतस्य सामान् विमोहयति भीरप्यद्भिवेति केचिदाहुरजं जातं पुण्यश्लोकस्य कीर्तयदो प्रियस्यन्वयाये मलयस्येव चन्दनम् अपरे वसुदेवस्य देवक्यां याचितो भगादजस्य मस्य क्षेम वदाय च सरद्विषाम् भारावतारणान्ये भुवो नावो विवोददो सीदन्त्या भूरिभारेण जातो हि आत्मदुपार्थितः भवेस्मिन् कृष्यमाणानां विद्याकामकर्मे श्रवणस्मरणार्थं हि करिष्यन् इति केचन शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति भीक्ष्णशः स्मरन्ति नन्दन्ति तवेकं दिनात एव पश्यन्ति श्रेव तावकं भवः प्रवाहो परमं पदाम्बुजम् अभ्यन्तर्नस्तं स्वकृते हितप्रभुदिहासूदो अनुजीविनः येषां न चान्यद्भवतः पदाम्बुजात् परायणं राजसु योजिताहंस केवयं नाम रूपाभ्यां यदुभिः सह पाण्डव भवतो दर्शनं यर्हि ऋषिकानां विवेशितो नेयं शोभिष्यते तत्र यदादीनं गदाधर तत्पदैरणिका भाति स्वलक्षणविलक्षणे इमे जनपदाः स्मृता सुपक्षौ शतवीरुदा वनादिर्नद्य उदन्वन्तो भेदन्ते तव वीक्षिते अत विश्वेश विश्वात्मन् विश्वमूर्ति स्वकेशु मे स्नेहपाशं चिन्ति दृढं पाण्डिषु विष्णुषु त्वयि मे नन्न विषयामतिर्मधुपते असकृत् प्रतिमुद्धहतो मद्धं गङ्गे वोगं वदन्वति श्रीकृष्ण कृष्ण सख विष्णु भावनेति राजन्य वंशदाना अपवर्क बीज गोविंद गोद्विज सुरार्ति हरावतारे योगेश्वर गुरु भगवान नमस्ते. So here an important thing is the last but one verse is actually what Kundi Maharani is asking from the Lord after offering the prayers. So that is what she is requesting the Lord. So all these things are her understanding and prayers. But what really she is praying out is she is asking is that give me attraction to you. That is what is her exact prayer. At the end, she puts her request. This is what I want. So we have to understand that this is what is her understanding she is telling. So first verses, she offered him obeisances. Then she told how she received her mercy and how she is fortunate than Devaki also in one way. And here she is trying to explain that how, of course, she told how Lord's activity, Janma Karma Jive Divyam, she is telling these things. And then she tells what are the qualifications also, how to understand him. Now, here, after telling the qualifications before verses, now she is telling how they are Divyam. So this verse we have read is the very important verse. This is Gopyaga Deitvaikataga Siddhama Tavad Yate Dashashu Karadhanira Sambramaksham Vaktram Niniya Bhava Bhavanaya Sutasya Saman Vimohiti Virabhyadvibit. Very beautiful purport by Prabhupada, where in the translation, Kuntimaran is telling, my dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the massacre of your eyes, and you are afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to you. Now, what is very important is we have read this past time many times. But in this connection, it is very important because it is giving a very nice philosophical understanding in the sequence of our discussions. What Kunti Maharani is telling that, okay, Lord's internal energy, Yogamaya can do this impossible. But the most amazing miracle is this energy performs is what happens in Vrindavan. So, in response to the pure devotees and to forget his omnipotence. So now Kunti Maharani is also relative to Nanda Maharaj. So it is said that she went to Nanda Maharaj's house for Diwali, of course, and that is the time this Leela performed. So she was directly witnessing this Leela, and that day, and now this Leela was nicely explained. Prabhupada writes. Now, what is so special about this Leela? When God comes here, he takes the form of Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, and now he is coming as an ordinary child. And Kunti is herself saying this, and Lord is playing in different roles as different actors. And how that role of an ordinary child different from other roles. Now, it looks like, okay, he's pretending like a child. Just he pretends like a fish or a boar. And it is no coincidence, no? He says, Anadinidanam Vibhum and all these things. But this pretending, it is not actually pretension. Kunti Maharani is saying that, because from a neutral position of Aishwarya Jnana, she had some Aishwarya Jnana, but it would recognize Krishna's play. So if you are seeing that you have some Aishwarya Jnana, you see, oh, Lord is just acting, he's not afraid. But Kunti Maharani is like, no, I am not seeing actually like that. I am seeing you are really afraid. Now, what is, we say, okay, Krishna was really experiencing fear, not, is not pretending to be afraid, and no, and his eyes are reddening and he's seeking for help. And she is seeing this scene, and now she is thinking, how God, who is afraid of death, because fear is afraid of him and he is afraid of this covered girl. Now, there is three important points here. The entire Srimad Bhagavatam is written only to glorify the love of Brajvasis. That's all. This should be very clear for us. It's all just to glorify actually one person, Srimati Radharani, but we can give all some credit to Brajvasis. Now, in Queen Kunti, she is glorifying. Just now she told Govinda, and now she is glorifying Yashoda. And next chapter, if you see Bhishma Dev, when he is offering his prayers, he glorifies Krishna's form in the Kurukshetra battle and all. But in the end, he says, actually, gopis. Your Leela with gopis are very special, and he leaves his body. So he is also appreciating in the battlefield, he is leaving his body and he is appreciating Krishna's Leela with gopis. That's what actually Bhagavatam meant for. Is meant to help us understand what is the love of gopis, what is Brajavasis. And same thing, Uddhava goes to Vrindavan, Krishna sends him 10th canto, just to show that confirm with authority that there is nothing in all of creation that is greater than the love of that conquers God himself. And now people may try to comprehend God with some reasons, but they can never understand how omnipotent God can be deprived of his omnipotence. This is the point. Lord is omnipotent. How can he deprive? And logic, this what do you call rational logic of divine scriptures, that it is not actually not. This actually proves that God is all powerful. So, so only he can forget his omnipotence is to such an extent that he's God only. So this proves that this is some extraordinary power. Now the paradox, like uh, now some people they may argue that okay, we will try to redefine omnipotence. That okay, for God to be unable to fit, so they have this analogy. You know? They ask, can Lord create a stone which he cannot lift? Now, for God to unable to lift a stone he created, the stone must be equal to him. That is infinite. So God, of course, cannot create such a stone because by definition nothing is equal to him. That's what they argue. Now, but if it is Narayana and Vaikuntha, we can define. Yeah, one could agree that this resolution is very of paradox, but Krishna is original. He allows himself to resolve this difficulty. For Narayana, it is not possible. For Krishna, it is possible. Krishna's omnipotence is that if he can forget his omnipotence, that much is potent. By subduing how? Subduing to the love of love that is equal to him. So his love is equal to him. And because God's love is also infinite. So what is equal to Lord is his love. So he can come under his love. And he can put himself under love, and he can give this love into the heart of another living entity, another man, and that person can control Krishna. That's what happens. Krishna is controlled by his devotees because they have this love which is equal to Krishna. Now, how does one diminish his omnipotency? So that people may argue, how is it possible? No, generally it is said that Lord who is self-satisfied is perturbed, is feeling hungry, and when he's not fed, he's become angry, and he's breaking the pot out of frustration, and he's stealing butter, and he's fearful now. And he now Mother Yashoda is running behind him, and he's easily catching, and he's weeping, and just with a cord from her hair he could tie. And Almighty Lord cannot even break. He cannot unable to tear the cord, ordinary cord from his waist. How is it now? This is all contradicting, because how can Lord, he can be steal, he is having the propensity to steal, hunger, anger, annoyed, fearful, all these things. So God is free from all vices and imperfection, but what is important to understand, it's mercy on all that is actually above all his qualities. All the qualities will bring no joy to anyone if there is no virtue that makes others happy. And now, if a person is beautiful, but if he is indifferent, it will not make him very good. If a man is cruel, with all his intelligence, power, and all these things, it is not attractive. But if people say, who need this beauty, intelligence, power if it lacks kindness, mercy? So that's why mercy is the greatest good. Now Krishna makes the mercy of Krishna actually what makes him all attractive. Like that. So we'll go further. There are many other things to understand, but this is an important point. That's why Krishna could be told. And now, so we can say that okay, inner energy of Krishna obscures his knowledge and omnipotency so that he can respond perfectly to the love of his devotees. Now, how can ignorance be on the Lord? This is many people's question. This one, it will always help us to understand about devotees and Lord. I'll try to answer this question. That how can there be ignorance on Lord? Because of ignorance only, people cry, people become fearful, people suffer. Now Lord is suffering here. He's crying, he's becoming fearful, he's annoyed. Now it's humiliating to be born to a martyr. but he is called omnipotence because he does what he wants and does not tolerate what he does not want. That's why he's omnipotent. Now, if you see something very bad is happening to him, and he does not want, and he is now bound, and that is why something impossible for him. Now, uh, now these emotions, does they deem him, that does they minimize him? No, not at all. Actually, this is the greatest bliss for the Lord. So this is nothing by mode of any ignorance. He is voluntarily submitting to the law of his devotees, and that actually is what is giving. So that's what Prabhupada is writing in the purport. Now we'll go for the next shloka. This is a very nice purport. You have read already, so you can read it. So next. Kechidahrajam jatam punyashlokasya kirta yado priyasanvayaya malayasya vachandanam. Some say, now here Kunti Maharani is separating herself. She is saying some say. Although she believes it, but she is telling some people are saying that you are unborn, that unborn is born for the glorification of pious king. She gives her reason why you are born, but she is telling others are saying you are born for this. And others say that he is born to please King Edu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in this family as sandalwood appears in Malaya Hills. This is also a very nice shloka. We'll discuss after reading the purport. Because the Lord's appearance in this material world is bewildering, there are different opinions about the birth and the birth of the unborn. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he takes his birth in the material world, although he is the Lord of all creations and is unborn. So there cannot be any denial of his birth of the unborn because he himself establishes the truth. But still, there are different opinions as to why he takes his birth. It is also declared in the Bhagavad Gita. He appears by his own internal potency to re-establish the principles of religion and to protect the pious and to annihilate the impious. That is the mission of the appearance of the unborn. Still, it is said that the Lord is there to glorify the pious King Yudhishthir. Lord Sri Krishna certainly wanted to establish the kingdom of the Pandavas for the good of all in the world. When there is a pious king ruling over the world, the people are happy. When the ruler is impious, the people are unhappy. In the age of Kali, in most cases, the rulers are impious. Therefore, the citizens are also continuously unhappy. But in the case of democracy, the impious citizens themselves elect their representative to rule over them, and therefore they cannot blame anyone for their unhappiness. Maharaj Nala was also celebrated as great pious king, but he had no connection with Krishna. Therefore, Maharaj Yudhishthira is meant here to be glorified by Lord Krishna. He had also glorified King Edu, having taken birth in the family of that king. Thus, he is known as Yadava, Yadavara or Yadunandan. Although the Lord is always independent of such obligations, he is just like the sandalwood that grows in the Malaya Hills. Trees can grow anywhere and everywhere. Because the sandalwood trees grow mostly in the area of Malaya Hills, the name sandalwood and the Malaya Hills are interrelated. Therefore, the conclusion is the Lord is ever unborn like the sun, and yet he appears as a sunrise on the eastern horizon. As the sun is never the son of the eastern horizon, so the Lord is no one's son, but he is the father of everything that be. So this is what we understand. Now we have, so here this is a very important point what Kunti Maharani is going to say. Now Kunti Maharani already told what is the qualification to understand Krishna. She told for the quality of that is humility is needed to comprehend the Supreme Lord. Now she also told people the devotee must be akinchana. That means he should renounce pride and sense of ownership. Now when humility reaches perfection, one is able to enter into the kingdom of God. Now pride and ego, they are manifested as I and mine. Very simple. Whether we have pride or not, if I have I and my mentality, then the person is completely immersed in matter because there is a sense of ownership. Mine. So consciousness that is completely immersed in matter and identifies with material things of this world. As one's consciousness develop, one try to one gives up this gross matter, but there is sense of ownership in a subtle level. And it philosophers and all these people at a certain level, the mind and intellect, they're still attached. Now, further evolution, one able to give it up, and then he comes to a nice state. Now, here, now once we give up this ownership, once we give material, then we start uh, claiming that Krishna is mine. So here, Edu may say, "Oh, is her mine," and all. So this is the next level. Now, this Krishna is coming to glorify such great rulers, to establish dharma, which is what he says: "Paritrana sadhuna, vinashaya cha dushkita, dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge." Now we'll discuss some more things from. So here, when she's telling. Some say, now by doing so, she immediately is distinguishing herself from the previous verse. Sorry, not Aparevasya. Kechidahu. Kechid means somebody. Some people say like that. So she is not trying to take it. Now, so this is the reason that is stated in Bhagavad Gita. At different sages describe different reasons for Lord's coming. So according to different people, these are the different things. Now, Prabhupada is writing about Maharaj Nala. He was famous for righteousness, but he has no connection with Lord Krishna. That's why he is not glorified. And there are people who say they are also protectors of Dharma, like Jarasandhar, Dhritarashtra, even Duryodhana may also say. But Lord comes into this world to show people how he considered to be true protector of religion. So Lord has an understanding of what is dharma and is coming to establish. Because Maharaj Nila is also righteous. Even other kings also, Jarasandha also, he was also doing charity, and Krishna, Arjuna and Bhima goes for fighting. It was very fair. He said, okay, let us fight fair. Morning, he was giving them the nice receptions, and daytime they are fighting, nighttime they are enjoying party. And then he said, okay, I'll fight with Bhima. So he didn't. So they are righteous only. Krishna says, no, no, no. This is, according to me, this is righteousness. So Krishna wanted to establish Pandavas for all over the world for the good. When pious kings rule the world, people are happy. So this is what Prabhupada is telling. But in Kali Yuga, generally rulers are impious. So, and now there are many other. Now we will see this nice shloka. Apare vasudevasya devakyam yachito bhagat jasamasya kshemaya. Apare vasudevasya devakyam yachito bhagat ajasyamasya kshemaya vadaya suratpisham. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn. Yet, you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Purport. It is also said that Vasudeva and Devaki, in their previous births as Sutapa and Krishna, underwent a severe type of penances to get the Lord as their son. As the result of such austerities, the Lord appeared as their son. It is already declared in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears for the welfare of all people of the world and to vanquish the asuras, or the materialistic atheist. Bharavatarananye bhuna yododo sidantya bhuri bharena jato hi atma bhavar. We'll discuss these two shlokas. Just read the purports. Others say that the world was overburdened like a boat at sea. It is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and you have appeared to diminish the trouble. So this is all others' opinion. It's not Kunti Maharani tells her opinion in the end. Brahma are the first living being born just for the creation, and these are all true also. Not that what Kunti is telling not true, but she says these others say, and this is she accepts. But she has much more important reason, which is actually important for us also. Brahma, the first living being born just after the creation, is the direct son of Narayana. Narayana is Garbhodaksha Vishnu. First of all, entered the material universe. Without spiritual contact, matter cannot create. This principle was followed from the very beginning of creation. The Supreme Spirit entered the universe, and the first living being, Brahma, was born on the lotus flower grown out of the transcendental abdomen of Vishnu. Vishnu is therefore known as Padmanabha. Brahma is known as Atmabhu because he was begotten directly from the father without any contact of Mother Lakshmi. Lakshmi ji was present near Narayana, engaged in the service of the Lord. Still, without contact with Lakshmi ji, Narayana begotten Brahma. This is the omnipotency of the Lord. One who foolishly considers Narayana like other living beings should take a lesson from this. Narayana is not an ordinary being. He is the personality of God himself, and he has all the potencies of all the senses in all parts of his transcendental body. An ordinary living being beget a child by sexual intercourse, and he has no other means to beget a child other than the one designed for him. But Narayana, being omnipotent, he is not born to any conditions of energy. He is complete and independent to do anything and everything by his various potencies, very easily and perfectly. Brahma is therefore directly the son of the father and was not put into the womb of a mother. Therefore, he is known as Atmabhu. This Brahma is in charge of further creation in the universe. Secondly, reflected by the potency of the omnipotent. Within the halo of universe, there is a transcendental planet known as Svetadri, which is the abode of Kshirodaksha Vishnu, the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Lord. Whenever there is trouble in the universe that cannot be solved by the administrative demigods, they approach Brahmaji for a solution, and it is not to be solved even by Brahmaji. Then Brahmaji consults and prays to the Kshirodaksha Vishnu for an incarnation and solution to the problem. Such a problem arose when Kamsa and others were ruling over earth, and the earth became too much overburdened by the misdeeds of the Asuras. Brahmaji, along with other demigods, prayed at the shore of Kshirodaksha Ocean, and they were advised of the descent of Krishna, son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So some people say that the Lord appeared because of the prayers of Brahma. So this is what Prabhupada is nicely concluding. We will discuss on that. So here, so people are claiming so many reasons. So now dharma, righteous king. So what Lord is coming to define. Even more important than dharma, what is here, what is Lord coming is out of compassion. So by coming to this world in response to prayer of Brahma, the greatest of the demigods, Lord is actually opening the way to salvation for all people in the world. So because at the time the world was ruled by all these demonic demons who performed austerities and had extraordinary strength also. This is also. And not only that, they had so many mystic powers. If you see Garga Samhita, all this Kamsa story, oh, he has subdued all the demons. Very powerful person. You may have read this and heard in Janmashtami time. In Janmashtami, we'll also hear again. So even the creator of the world, Brahma, begged the Lord, please come, I cannot do anything here myself. And these prayers are answered. So how? Out of compassion. So this is the quality of Lord. He is answering prayers out of his compassion. Establishing dharma is there. If somebody is praying, he feels compassionate. Okay. So and then the next shloka is very important shloka. Bhavesmin klishyamananam avidya kama karmabhi Shravana Smaranarhani Karishyaniti Kechana. And yet others say, this is also not her opinion. Yet others say that you appear for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so that the conditioned soul suffering the material planks may take advantage and gain liberation. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asserts that his appearance in every millennium just to re-establish the way of religion. The way of religion is made by the Supreme Lord. No one can manufacture a new path of religion as it is the fashion for certain ambitious people. The factual way of religion is to accept the Lord as the supreme authority and thus render service unto him in spontaneous love. A living being cannot help but render service because he is constitutionally made for that purpose. Only function of the living being is to render service to the Lord. The Lord is great and living beings are subordinate to him. Therefore, the duty of living being is just to serve him only. Unfortunately, the illusioned living being, out of misunderstanding only, becomes servant of the senses by material desires. This desire is called avidya or nescience. And out of such illegitimate desires, the living being makes different plans for material enjoyment, centered about a perverted sex life. He therefore becomes entangled in the chain of birth and death by transmigrating into different bodies on different planets under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Unless, therefore, one is born beyond the boundary of this nescience, one cannot get free from the threefold miseries of material life. That is the law of nature. The Lord, however, out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings that they can expect, appear before them and service comprising of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, cooperating, and surrendering unto him. Adoption of all these above mentioned items or any one of them can help a conditioned soul get out of the tangle of nuisance and thus become liberated from all material suffering created by the living beings illusioned by the external energy. This particular type of mercy is bestowed upon the living being by the Lord in the form of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Prabhupada, such a nice, in a short paragraph, Prabhupada tells so many things. Prabhupada is very intelligent. So, we'll see some points on this. So, now Lord's compassion is extended further. So, this is what Prabhupada is writing. So, Lord is not only helping those living beings who are in the material world to attain liberation and want to come. He is paying a way of liberation for all conditioned suffering souls from ignorance. This is what Lord is, not who want to come, but others also they can come out of this. So there is ignorance, what it gives rise to what? Avidya gives rise to endless desires for pleasure. And what happens is they hold soul captive. Klishyamanana. So this is the mechanism of slavery for all of us. Living entity cannot help but serve. But that is the original purpose of living entity. The only purpose of a living entity is serve Lord. And Lord is great and living entity is subordinate to him. It's a very simple system. Therefore, the duty of living entity is serve. But what happens because of illusion and driven by material desires, and we unknowingly become servant of our senses. And I am telling you about myself. And this is called avidya, ignorance. And then we are in this cycle of birth and death. So to help us to get rid of it, Lord is coming. So this is one of the reasons to endlessly remove this cycle of birth and death. Lord performs his will. So now what is Kunti Maharani's reason? Yeah. शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति भीक्ष्णशः स्मरन्ति नन्दन्ति तवेहितं जना तयेव पश्यन्ति चिरेव तावकं भवप्रवाहो परमं पदाम्बुजम्. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. So this is her opinion of Krishna's coming. He says, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanta Bhikshnasha. So those who continuously hear chant take pleasure in doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone. It is not just for liberation, it is actually for devotion you are coming. That's what she is trying to tell. So the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditioned vision. In order to see him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life, full of spontaneous love of Godhead. When Sri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as a supreme personality of Godhead. Materialistics like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandha, and Shishpal were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. This necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only. Beginning with hearing about the Lord from the right source, the Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literature which are generally heard, chanted, repeated, etc. by the people in general. But in spite of such hearing, etc., sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotion service does not see the Lord eye to eye. The reason is that the first item, Shravanam, is very important. If hearing is from the right source, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized person. Very nice. Prabhupada is telling, hear from right source, otherwise you will not get anything. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and a bona fide speaker and then hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. So about hearing, there are many other shlokas which are coming in the further purports. There we'll elaborately discuss. Some things we'll discuss now also, but we'll have some more elaborations, very important. And there are different transcendental activities of the Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In the Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord began from his dealing with the Pandavas. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealing with the Asuras and others. And the 10th canto, sublime dealing with his uh, conjugal associate, the gopis, as well as with his married wives at Dwarka are mentioned. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference in the transcendental nature of each and every dealing of the Lord. But sometimes people in an unauthorized hearing process makes more interest in hearing about his dealing with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feeling of the hearer. So a bona fide speaker of the dealings of Lord never indulges in such hearing. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures, and that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. One should not therefore consider that his dealing with the Pandavas are less important than his dealing with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to all mundane attachments. In all the above mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances, and hearing about him or about his devotees or binds to conducive to spiritual life. It is said in the Vedas and Puranas, etc., all are made to revive our lost relation with Him. Hearing of all the scriptures is essential. So now, what Kunti Maharani is telling is this is actually the reason you are appearing. So she begins the prayer with Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartam. That's what she told. Katam Pashyema Histriya, right? You come here to give people the science of devotion, bhakti, which begins with what? Shrinvanti Gayanti. 1 minute. Sorry. So Kunti says, Bhakti Yoga Vidanartham. You come here to give people the signs of devotional service. And hearing begins with repetition of the holy name. Srinvanti Kayanti Grananti. So here the fullest manifestation of bhakti. So it is with hearing. And now she glorifies Srimad Bhagavatam because Bhagavatam enables people to listen about Krishna, Krishna's deeds, to chant about Krishna, to think about Krishna, and then constantly experience this happiness. So this is what Kunti explains. What happens to people who listens to Krishna? Tayeva pashyanti achireva tava. Sorry, she says here. Yeah, Bhava Pravaho Paramam Padambujam. Shunvanti Gayanti Gridantapikshna Smaranti Nandanti Tavehitam. Taye Pashyanti Achreva Tavakam Bhava Pravaho Paramam Padambujam. This is actually what she is telling. So such people very soon begin to see your lotus feet and to serve you personally. So now she is not speaking that that he will serve you, but your lotus feet. So this is what when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, it is not to see God, but to love God, service to the Lord. So this is the sadhana that is given in all Vedic scripture. Now people may say, "Arey, show me God, then I will serve Him." This is what many people say. Show me God, I will believe in Him. But actually, we have to believe in God first. Then only we will be able to see Him, because God reserves the right not to show Himself to those who don't believe Him. So, Ashtame Yoga Maishwaryam. Sorry, what is Krishna says? Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samabdha. Krishna says, no, I will not be. So, how can we love somebody who did not see? This is a question, right? If you did not see somebody, how can you love them? They say, but this is also a mistake. One must first love God, and only then he can truly see. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Tadeshu Vilochin. So now, in order to believe in God and love Him, what is the first thing? One should hear about Him. That's how we know about Him. And from whom we should hear? Who have this love, we should hear from them. Not anybody and everyone. That's the problem. That's why Krishna here, Prabhupada is writing about. We must hear from the Lord who listened about Him, who meditate on Him, who concentrate on Him, whose mind is completely observed on Him. Then we'll be able to understand who is standing in front of us. So this devotional service beginning from listening His pastimes about Krishna. This is what Prabhupada is trying to explain. Don't hear from professional people. It is impossible for our present condition to get the vision of Supreme Lord. To see Him, we have to acquire a new vision, a quality of love that is completely pure heart. And that's why even when Lord was present in front of materialistic people, they are very highly qualified and all, but they could not appreciate the Lord. They wanted to kill Him only. And Narsingadev will appear after 4 days, a few days for us. And when Hiranyakashipu heard, oh, is it such a beautiful Lord, let me offer praise. No, Hiranyakashipu, let me kill him. So even Lord appears also, people want to kill. This is the problem. So that's why he cannot be understood in that way. Of course, there are many other points, but we'll go for the next shloka. Maybe in some other places we can. There are some nice commentaries from acharyas and all. But now from here onwards, there is what is the cure for our disease of indifference that Kunti Narayan is going to pray. This is a very nice section which Kunti Maharani is going to say. We'll take one more shloka and purport. Then maybe tomorrow, no, Monday onwards, we'll try to discuss this nice section which Kunti Maharani is playing. How to heal ourselves from these problems. We have few more prayers, but they are very important. And I told some other very important points which are very helpful. These discussions will help us to develop a relation with Krishna more closely and get free from all the doubts. Our sambandha will increase and all. Apyadyanastam sakrutehita prabhu jivasisi shudo jivinah yeshan chanyat bhavata padam bhujat parayanam rajashi yojita hamsa. O my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. You are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all kings are at enemy with us. Now she changed the topic. These are very nice discussions. The Pandavas are most fortunate because with all good luck they were entirely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. In the material world, to be dependent on mercy of someone else is utmost sign of misfortune. But in the case of our transcendental relation with the Lord, it is the most fortunate case when we can live completely dependent on Him. The material disease is due to thinking becoming independent of everything, but the cruel material nature does not allow us to become independent. The false attempt to become independent of the stringent laws of nature is known as material advancement of experimental knowledge. The whole material world is moving on this false attempt of becoming independent of the laws of nature, beginning from Ravana, who wanted to prepare a direct staircase to the planets of heaven, down to the present age. They are trying to overcome the laws of nature. They are trying now to approach distant planetary systems by electronic mechanical power. But the highest goal of human civilization is to work hard under the guidance of the Lord and become completely dependent on Him. The highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. The Pandavas were the ideal executors of this standard of civilization. Undoubtedly, they were completely dependent on the goodwill of Lord Sri Krishna, but they were not ideal parasites of the Lord. They were highly qualified both in personal character and physical activity. Still, they always looked for the mercy of the Lord because they knew that every living being is dependent by constitutional position. The perfection of life is therefore to become dependent on the will of the Lord instead of becoming falsely independent in material world. So this is the perfection. Those who try to become falsely independent of Lord are called anatha, or without any guidance, whereas those who are completely dependent on the will of Lord are called sanatha, or those having someone to protect them. Therefore, we must try to be sanatha, so that we can always be protected from the unfavorable conditions of the material existence. By the deluding power of material nature, we forget that the material condition of life is the most undesirable perplexity. The Bhagavad Gita therefore directs us that after many, many births, one fortunate person becomes aware of the fact that Vasudeva is all in all and that the best way of leading one's life is to surrender unto him completely. That is a sign of Mahatma. All the members of the Pandava family were Mahatmas in household life. Maharaj Yudhishthir was the head of these Mahatmas and Queen Kunti was the mother. The lesson of the Bhagavad Gita and the Puranas, especially the Bhagavad Purana, are therefore inevitably connected with the histories of the Pandava Mahatmas. For them, separation from the Lord was just like the separation of fish from water. Srimati Kunti therefore felt such separation like a thunderbolt, and the whole prayer of the queen is to try to persuade the Lord to stay with them. After the battle of Kurukshetra, although the inimical kings were killed, their sons and grandsons were still there to deal with the Pandavas. It is not only the Pandavas who are put into the condition of enmity, but all of us are always in such a condition, and the best way of a living entity is to become completely dependent on the will of Lord and thereby overcome all difficulties of material existence. Actually, all purports are so beautiful by Prabhupada. You can please read again, it will help Actually, next two shloka purport is small. We'll do. Kevayam namarupabhyam yaduvissaha pandava bhavato darshanam vihi rishikanam viveshito. As the name and fame of particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. Kunti is giving such nice conclusions. Kunti Devi is quite aware of the existence of the Pandavas is due to Sri Krishna only. The Pandavas are undoubtedly well established in name and fame and are guided by the great king Yudhishthir, who is morality personified, and Hindus are undoubtedly great allies. But without the guidance of Lord Krishna, all of them are no entities, as much as the senses of the body are useless without the guidance of the consciousness. No one should be proud of his prestige, power, and fame without being guided by the favor of Supreme Lord. The living being are always dependent, and the ultimate dependent object is the Lord Himself. We may therefore invent by our advancement of material knowledge all sorts of contracting material resources, but without being guidance by the Lord, all such innovations end in fiasco, however strong and stout the reactionary element may be. This is what Kunti is going to say, and maybe one more. There is no. Nayam Shobhishat. I will explain them in more detail. What I'll do, I'll send the questions. I'm promising, but somehow I get stuck up with many things. Time pass. I will try to send the questions which Kunti Maharani is asking. Very, very important questions she answers with all these shlokas. I will try to send the questions, but not answers, so that you attend the class and know the answers. Nayam Shobhishate Tatra Etadinam Gadadhara Tatpade Ranika Vati Salakshana Vilakshane. Oh Gadadhara, Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your lotus feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave it, it will no longer be so. There are certain particular marks in the feet of Lord which distinguishes the Lord from others. The mark of flag, thunderbolt, an instrument to drive an elephant, umbrella, lotus, disc, etc. are on the bottom of the Lord's feet. Those marks are impressed upon the soft dust of the land where the Lord traverses. The land of Hastinapur was also marked while Lord Krishna was there with the Pandavas, and the kingdom of the Pandavas thus flourished by such auspicious signs. Kunti Devi points out these distinguished features and was afraid of ill luck in the absence of the Lord. So there are 2, 3, 42 and 40. Yeah, we cover till 40. So 43, 42. 30, we have covered till 39. So 4 more verses and then Kunti Maharani's prayer end. But we will see, we'll take 2 more days to complete because there are some important questions. At least I'll send the questions today. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions, any comments, anybody?